let's talk about sustaining and scaling your podcast. So we've gone through the hard work of getting our show started. We've talked about monetization and audience growth. The really important thing here is you got to keep going. And I think this is where beginning with the end in mind is really important. The most valuable thing I can do as a creator is to start a new content initiative at a cadence and at a pace and frequency that I can sustain for the long term, right? To say, I'm going to publish an hour-long YouTube video every day of the week, for me is not sustainable. But for me to say, I can do one a month, that's great, right? My podcast, my personal podcast, I publish every week because it's just that important to me that I put a video and an episode out every week. If that's not you, that's fine. But deciding at the very beginning what you can live with, right? What you have the time and budget and energy and coordination kind of capacity for is by far the most important to avoid this concept called pod fade, right? Pod fade. Starting and then stopping a podcast is such a common thing that we have a phrase for it, and it is pod fading. So I like to kind of begin with the end in mind. Think about what I'm capable of sustaining over the long term, and then getting systems and processes and ideally people to help me with that. So I use our Castos Productions team to edit all of our shows, so I can record and then I kick it over the fence to them, and they do everything else. That's great. If you can afford that, that's amazing. If you can't, think about like, hey, how can I maybe do a little bit less, editing and production just to make the show kind of production and editing process easier. Maybe I can get some help recruiting guests and doing research on them to where you get an outline that's ready to go, right? Think about, hey, can I get some help on the marketing side? Can I hire a social media marketing consultant or freelancer to help me publish and create, short form videos or something like that? So you don't have to do all of this alone, but you do have to keep going. And I think figuring out kind of how you can live with that and what that means to you is really super important. And it's different for everyone. So give yourself the grace to say, I just can't be pushing out 3-hour episodes every week. Well, I can't either. and I'm pretty good at this. So just think about like what you can live with and what kind of serves the goals that you have for starting the show in the first place. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast series on how to start a podcast. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you in your podcasting journey, head over to castos.com.